Hello everyone, this is Investing with Envy and welcome back to another video. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are set to explode with what people like Kevin O'Leary have been doing recently and what they are doing in order to serve the institutional buyer. As many of you watching, I was a skeptic of cryptocurrencies in general because I didn't fully understand them and still not quite sure that I understand them, but I'm becoming more of a believer as I learn more about the topic and continue to see reputable people advocating for Bitcoin. I was a skeptic because I remember seeing Warren Buffett and him being asked what he thought of Bitcoin, and I remember he wasn't in favor of it and he didn't see any value in it.
What is it about Bitcoin that gets you guys so fired up?
Well, when you buy a farm, you look at the crop every year and what prices are, and you decide whether it was a satisfactory investment. I mean, you look to the asset itself and what it produces for you. When we buy a business, we look at what the business earns and decide how we feel about it in terms of what we paid. But we are buying something that at the end of the period, we not only have what we bought in the first place, but we have something that the asset produced. And when you buy non-productive assets, all you're counting on is whether the next person is going to pay you more because they're even more excited about another next person coming along. But the asset itself is creating nothing.
Initially, his opinion about cryptocurrencies made sense to me, and that you should want to own equities over a digital currency because there was no way of finding out what the real value of a cryptocurrency is. However, you can value equities or create models that can best estimate what the value of them are. Even to this day, there's very few people out there with the knowledge and expertise to put a price on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. We just know that something massive is about to happen and that we should see the price of Bitcoin increase tremendously because of the usage rate and the amount of things that we will be able to do with cryptocurrencies is growing exponentially. I know that Bitcoin is using a very proven business model that has been used by multi-billion-dollar companies out there, which is the bigger the network and the more people that are using it, the more valuable it becomes. Picture this, how valuable is Airbnb and Uber if not many customers found value in the service? There definitely wouldn't be as many drivers for Uber, and there definitely wouldn't be many property owners leasing their property to Airbnb customers. How valuable would Facebook and Twitter be if many of your friends and family or the people that you found interesting weren't on these platforms? You'd have no use for it. How valuable would the internet be if people didn't embrace it and create new websites in order for you to get more informed, more entertained, and be more efficient in the work that you do? I believe this is what's happening right now with cryptocurrencies because you are seeing many people joining and buying cryptocurrencies and building algorithms that will change the global financial markets for the better. Let's have a look at a video of Kevin O'Leary describe one of the huge opportunities for cryptocurrencies and how decentralized finance will be able to change the world.
You know, the number one question at this conference is, will DeFi disrupt the existing financial markets? And the answer is 100% yes. When you buy a stock in Switzerland or Germany or in England, you either pay in Swiss francs, euros, or British pounds. And I do that all the time. But before I can do that, I have to take US dollars and exchange it into the local currency, let's say euros. Every time I do that, I have to pay a currency trader. Now that is zero value added to me. When we get DeFi working and regulators on both sides of the pond agree, I can do that transaction with zero cost or next to zero. So that will make it more efficient. That's just one use. And by the way, the currency market is a multi-trillion-dollar market, the largest in the world, full of friction, full of cost, full of fees you have to pay. DeFi will eliminate that. I'm very excited about that. That's just one application. There's so many more.
We're now living in a world of globalization where people are making business transactions with other people all over the world. Whether you're buying stocks like Kevin O'Leary mentioned, or whether you're buying goods and services from another country, You will always have to trade your currency for their currency for the transaction to happen. And there's always a middleman that takes a fee from all these transactions. As Kevin said, this adds no value to the economy and is just money wasted, and it makes business transactions inefficient. I believe Bitcoin will become the reserve currency of the world, and countries will be able to value their currency based on how much Bitcoin it can buy. Doing things this way makes business transactions more efficient, and people who are creating real value get to maximize their profits, and the people who are not adding any value get to be eliminated. Also, there are many people living in first world countries that are trying to send money to family members who live in poorer countries, and in order to do this, they have to pay some handsome fees in order for this to happen. Cryptocurrencies can facilitate these transactions at much lower cost, where it doesn't have to eat away at the money you're trying to send home to the people who actually need it. Let's have a look at another way that cryptocurrencies are changing our lives for the better by making business transactions a lot easier, and also having the trust that the item or service that you are buying is exactly how it is described by having it authenticated by an NFT.
There's such a buzz going on about NFTs. Those crazy little pieces of digital art, for example, trading for millions of dollars. Everybody's excited about it, but here's the truth. I think the biggest opportunities in NFTs are tied to physical assets. Let me give you an example. Watches. Now, watches grow in value as they get older. In other words, if you buy a watch from a company like Patek Philippe and it becomes vintage, it's worth way more than what you bought it for. But you don't know if you're buying a fake watch when you buy a vintage watch. So an NFT can become the certificate of authentication. That's what the big potential is. That's a space that I'm investing in because I know the watch world, and I'm one of those infected watch collectors. I want my own collection to have NFTs for every single watch, have them insured and have them approved by the manufacturer. That's the potential, and that's just one use. NFTs are going to be huge.
The world is full of high-ticket items and luxury brands like Gucci, Prada, and Versace, who are always battling with unauthenticated products that they produce being produced by other manufacturers and sold to the public as replicas. There are many people who don't know the difference between a real Gucci bag to a replica, and will probably be scammed into buying a replica bag for the real price. The same goes for luxury watches, and the market for fake luxury watches is huge. So many manufacturers right now are creating fake Rolexes, and Rolex is the #1 brand that probably gets their watches replicated, and there's many people out there that are buying these watches probably at full price. What if you no longer had to worry about what you were buying because an NFT for authentication was produced that gives you confidence in your purchase? You can apply the same NFT authentication process to sneakers, art, or sporting goods that have been signed by high value players, and so many other things where authenticity for what you're buying matters. As you can see, there's so many ways that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will be able to change the world for the better and make it more efficient. I believe this is just the beginning, because people are building software on top of the blockchain, and we haven't even tapped into the potential of how this will affect our lives in the future. Trying to predict this is like trying to predict 20 years ago on all the ways of how the internet will be used today. It will be up to the human imagination to create new ways on how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will be able to serve us best. Also, this is actually very similar to how when Apple first introduced the iPhone. When the iPhone was first introduced, it was kind of known as a phone that can hold your music and that you can potentially go on the internet occasionally. Since then, smartphones have become much more valuable to us because there have been so many more apps that have been developed that have become part of our lives. Think about having a smartphone now without having Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Netflix, or Uber, or so many other apps. Some, if not all of these businesses did not exist before the smartphone. And if they did, they definitely wouldn't have had the success that they've had without it. The iPhone had to be initially introduced and created a platform for all these apps to be developed and for the public to enjoy them as much as they do. I feel like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are providing a similar platform right now for the financial industry, and we haven't even begun to tap into what will be possible and what type of apps will be able to be developed on the blockchain. As you can see, guys, I am extremely excited about this space. The more I educate myself, and I want to continue to build my portfolio with Bitcoin and maybe one or two other cryptocurrencies. That wraps up the video, and I hope you learned something that maybe you didn't know before, or maybe heard a different perspective on how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will be able to be a part of our lives. If you're still a skeptic about this space, I would suggest that you educate yourself a little bit more, just because we do tend to be afraid of those things that we don't know or don't understand. And if you're still a skeptic, I totally understand, because we are entering something that has never been done before. If you did enjoy the video, please smash that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this, and I truly appreciate it. This is Investing with Envy, and I will see you on the next video.